What's up, Internet? We are back again with another Underfell One-Shot. This is again Sans Times Reader, and the story is called Cellmates. This is also by Avelio. If you haven't seen the first video I've done of her, go check it out on my channel. It is One-Shot number 2. And here we are jumping into Cellmates, going. All was pandemonium in the dungeon. The nauseating iron smell of blood stung your nose as all that could be heard was... Well, no, you could hear plenty of things, none of which being something you wanted to hear. The constant rattling of chains, the strings of curses so colorful you didn't even understand them, the sickening crunches and splats when prisoners had at it. Needless to say, you were absolutely, positively miserable. Honestly, you had been quite surprised to discover that King Asgore actually had a dungeon, for you had always assumed that the boss monsters just straight up killed those he wasn't in favor of. But whether this discovery was a good thing or not, you were still trying to decide. It was a mystery how these guys got thrown down here. Everyone in the underground was a complete jerk anyways, so what difference did it make? Did they chew the king out or something? You'd actually like to see that. As a human, you had expected to simply be slaughtered and have your soul taken from you. But apparently, Asgore had other plans. Plans such as torturing you and interrogating you to find out what the surface was like nowadays. You didn't find that necessary, as all you really needed to say was that it wasn't much better than what was down here, because really it wasn't. Racism, sexism, war, terrorism, the list went on. But then he had added that Dr. Alphys would borrow you every once in a while to conduct tests and experiments on you, most consisting of extracting the determination from your soul, whatever that meant. No matter. It sounded painful, and you had been a loyal follower of Murphy's Law as of late. Ignoring all the prisoners shaking at the bars of your cell and making the best insults they could to get your attention was quite the chore. Since your little torture days were specially exclusive to Asgore and Alphys, you were the only one who had your own cell, as to prevent anyone from killing you early. Everyone else could brawl away in the same room. You tried not to look at all the piles of blood-stained dust everywhere, but it was nigh impossible to do. Your back was turned to everyone else, and you focused on the metal cuffs constricting your wrists, as the monsters, ruffians really, all whistled and clicked their tongues at you, as if you were some stray dog in the street. It was at a time like this that you actually enjoyed having your own cell, because it was hard because it had little space, and you and your chains were bolted to the sticky, with red stone floor. You stifled a depressed sigh. It would only egg them on if they heard such. You definitely would have preferred the doghouse over this hellish place. No buddies sharing it with you. Softer floor, bigger chance at getting decent food. Sans. Back to when you were in Helden, Papyrus had captured you and left you in his small shack, or the doghouse. Hay was piled on the floor, and poisonous lasagna had been served. Every once in a while, the cruel skeleton would come in and give you a beating, although it was far better than Asgore or Alphys. And then there was Sans. He was harsh towards you at first, but that had slowly melted away into an odd friendship of sorts. He'd sneak food from Grillby's into the shack, come with healing products he had snatched from the lab, exchange conversation, then give you a chocolate or two. In fact, you could have sworn a romance had begun to blossom. But then it had become the time to be transported from Papyrus's to Asgore's. You could still vividly remember that horrid event. You had been screaming, kicking, writhing in the demon goat's grip, the blood his claws had drawn dripping onto the hard-packed snow. Both Papyrus and Sans had been there, the former crossing his arms sassily and the latter avoiding your gaze. He had been using his shoes to form patterns in the mush. Stuff like that had always gotten you thinking, which was what you were doing right at this moment. Sans knew this would happen, hadn't he? All of his actions had been a lie? An act? Did he ever really care for you? You knew you cared for him, or had. That was something you were still unsure of. After all, the chances were that you had been played like the pawn. It seemed like all the noise had died down, and everyone was sleeping. At peace, your eyes came to a close. Hey. Normally you'd tune this guy out, but the voice sounded freakishly familiar. When your head swiveled around, you gasped and got up quickly, taking as many steps back as you could. The chains held fast, however, making a taunting clink sound. Sans the skeleton winced at this. You shot him a diamond-cutting glare. "Hello," you said calmly, although you still emanated that push me and I'll rip off your skull kind of vibe. Hey. Sweat was streaming down the skeleton's cranium, and his shark-like teeth, which was usually stuck in a grin, had noticeably slackened. He was full-on frowning. The red lights in his eye sockets were shaking, as if struggling to look at you. Sans was completely and extremely nervous. Guilt managed to crawl its way into your soul, and you sighed, giving up on the enraged facade. "So, how'd you end up here?" you finally asked. "Bro got sick of me." "And the king just accepts this and throws you in?" "Yep, no questions asked." "Why am I not surprised?" "Because it makes perfect sense. I'd be surprised if you found that surprising." Suddenly Sans popped up in your cell. "Guess we're cellmates now." You rolled your eyes, but you couldn't suppress a smile. The big bone skeleton sat down with you, and you allowed to lean on him. He nuzzled you affectionately, purring. Soon enough, the two of you were wrapping your arms around each other, cuddling and smooching. No words needed to be spoken. It was already clear that you both had mutual feelings. Unbeknownst to you, Sans had went to the dungeon on his own accord. He'd probably bust the two of you out by tomorrow. Well, that was Cellmates by Avilo. This is actually one of my favorite stories that she has written. It's just so cute, and it's so short. It's easy to read. I'm under the 12-minute mark. I mean, just look at that. That's amazing. This story can be read on Quotev, and it is, again, by Avilo. I will leave links to her thing, her page in the description below, and I will leave the original text there as well. I'm also on Quotev, and I will leave my link there. You should come check me out. But check out Avila first. She's awesome. I'm rambling at this point. Send me some fanfiction that you want me to read. Normally, I just read from Quotev, but if it's from another site, I'll try that out as well. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next reading. Have fun!